may not always be monetary. Sometimes you may be able to just give your time to others. Giving your time by being a listening ear for someone who needs it. In my younger years, in my 20s, I did some things that I'm not too proud of when it came to finance. In today's video, we are going to talk about our finances and how we can relate a lot of what took place in the Bible to be a good steward of our finances and be sure that we are handling our finances properly. Many times that we are given, we see that we quickly lose it. And a lot of times we're losing it because we don't have the right intentions behind it. Our heart posture may not be set up properly to receive what it is that we're receiving. And when we do receive, we constantly blow it. And even though God is going to continue to bless you with the desires of your heart, what are you doing with it once He blesses you? There's just a couple of scriptures that I may throw out there just to help us walk through this portion or assist you in your journey. And that have actually assisted me. One of the main topics that I want to talk about is the principles of stewardship. Are you being a good steward of your finances? And this is discussed heavily in Luke chapter 16, verses 1 through 13, where Jesus is telling the disciples a parable about a rich man who had a manager or a steward over his finances, and he was mishandling the funds and he wasn't doing what was necessary. So he ended up firing him, but the steward or the manager knew that, I don't have the skills to go out and do something different, and I'm just too proud to beg, so I need to work on my relationship with these other people. So he decided, and he thought that it would be a smart thing to go out and set up a meeting with the people that owed the rich man and to convince them to say that if they owed him 800 gallons of olive oil, change it on the statement to 400. If you owed him 1,000 pounds of wheat, change it on the ticket to 800. So he was basically devising such a sneaky plan to, even though it would try to forgive some of the debts that was owed to the rich man, but he was doing this in a way to be cunning towards securing his future. And what he basically, it's okay to be smart about your money, but make sure that you are doing it in a way that honors God. And the way that he was doing it was not honoring God, because even though he was looking out for himself and looking out for what would be next for him, he was being dishonest by convincing the debtors to cut what they owed to the rich man in half. And it just wasn't right. He was not being a good steward over someone else's finances. And we always want to be sure that we are prioritizing our values over chasing wealth. We hear so many times of what people are selling their souls and they're giving up this just to have. And it's because they're seeking the world. They're seeking validation from the world. But when you seek validation from God, He's going to direct you on how to be a good steward of your money. And coming off of that, I do want to go into living within your means. I know a lot of people talking about, oh, you just got to fake it till you make it. So you out here charging up all these credit cards, buying all these designer labels, knowing that you cannot afford it. One thing I will say that I did take from my dad, he told a friend of his, if you can't buy it twice, then you can't afford to buy it once. And the principle of that is, in this person's situation, they were going to buy a Bentley. And my dad said, if you can't, when the person came back to him, they had bought themselves a Bentley. He said, Unc, I know you told me if I couldn't buy two, then don't buy one. So I got my Bentley. So if we start thinking about it like that, as opposed to relying on credit cards and relying on loans and all of those, then just wait. Your timing is coming. Just as long as you remain vigilant and you do what's necessary and you be a good steward over what God has provided you, He will give you those blessings. But we also want to make sure that we are staying away from greed. In Luke chapter 12, verse 15, Jesus talked about take care and be on guard against all covetousness, for one's life does not consist in the abundance of his possessions. So we want to be sure that while we are so focused on, so in this scripture, he's basically reminding us that our worth is not measured by how much stuff we own, but it's actually measured by the richness of our relationships and of our character. Are you a good person? How are you helping others? How are you in communion with others? And how are you building relationships with others? How are you using your finances? Are you being greedy? And we want to be sure that we are staying out of debt. And after we go from there, we want to talk about the virtue of giving. I know a lot of times, of course, in the Bible, it talks about tithing and taking 10% of your check and taking it to the church. Me personally, I take 10% that I sit to the side is for me to give to others and to help out my family when they need it. That 10%, and that's 10% that I don't mind. Like if I know immediately each week how much I can help if someone needs it from me. So though I'm not specifically putting it directly into a church right now, I have it set aside to give to anybody. If it's somebody that maybe a friend that needs, or maybe a family member that needs, that's where I make sure that's 10% of my check that I don't even concern myself with. I would like to, as my expenses grow, I'm sorry, not as my expenses grow, but as my income grow, I would like to be in a position to help more and do more. And I will speak about it. Back a few years back, I had a coworker that actually discussed tithing with me, and he talked about how when him and his wife started doing it, they started noticing they didn't know how it was going to be possible, but once they started noticing that they were not lacking in any areas. And I can say that when I was tithing, it was the same way. I was putting that 10% into the church, and sometimes it will be difficult for me to do it because I'm like, I'm going to be short on something. But every time it always worked its way out. Money came from different places, or I was able to push off this to a later date. It was just always a way was made. And though I'm not specifically giving my 10% to my church at this time, I have noticed that because I have such a giving heart and God knows my heart and my heart posture is in the right place, just like now, I'm in a situation where I feel like looking at my finances that I need to get a part-time job. I need to get an additional income when nothing has been turned off, nothing has been repossessed, nothing has been taken away. There has been no lack. There has been no loss. I'm able to put food on the table every week. I'm able to keep the lights on. I'm able to keep my internet going. Like I'm not losing and missing out on anything. And it's just by me changing my heart posture for giving. God will reward you for just being obedient. What that obedience looks like for you, you need to pray to Him, get in your word, and determine what it is that He wants for you to do and how He wants you to show up. So just because you, like in the Bible, it talks about tithing, see how it speaks on it directly for you. Your direction of tithing may be a little different for God, because at the end of the day, He wants to be sure that your heart posture is in the right place and that you are in a given place, and that you are not focusing on wealth and the riches, and that you are actually focusing on being a good person and being a good steward of what He gives you, and having a person and being a person of good character. So as we wrap up this video, I didn't touch on too much, but I hope it opened up your eyes and started some research topics that you want to look more into. I will hopefully insert those scriptures within the video so you can look back over those. But we want to make sure that we are being good stewards over our finances. We are spending and living within our means. Sit down and make your budget. Pray to God on the direction of what type of budget you should be doing. I may add, I actually have a page of different type of budget types. If you all would be interested in receiving that, let me know in the comments below, because I figure out how to upload that and how I can get that out to you all, because I think that would be a good tool. I think it has about 5 to 7 different budgeting types, and get in your word, get on your knees, fast, whatever you need to do, and ask God to direct you on what's the best type of budget for you during your circumstances. So it won't be uncomfortable, but you will still be working towards being a good steward over what it is that you have and what He's blessed you with. And we also want to think about the virtue of giving, making sure that we have a giving heart. If it's not feasible for you to give, may not always be monetary. Sometimes you may be able to just give your time to others. Giving your time by being a listening ear for someone who maybe if you are good at budgeting, maybe you can help somebody else set up their budget, or you can help them find resources that can help them get back on their feet. Like when we're thinking about being a giver, it don't always have to be monetary. It can be with our time, or it could just be something around the house that you could probably give to them. So open our minds, expand our minds, and let's see where this goes. Like in 2024, we're doing things completely different. And in order to receive different results, we have to put in different actions, and we have to put in different steps and set a plan of action in order to get there. So I don't know what your goals are, but a part of mine is making sure that my finances are in order. So I'm being very mindful and intentional about how I spend my money and where it's going, and making sure that I'm aligning it with what God wants me to do in the direction that God wants me to go, because I want Him to continue to bless me abundantly. I want prosperity. I want to build wealth to be able to help my family and put my family in a different position that we've ever been in. But in order for Him to continue to bless me, I feel bad when I feel like I'm constantly receiving and I'm not giving back. So in the past, I've been focused on how can I give back to this person, or what can I give them, when I've decided to redirect and focus my energy on giving back to God and giving back to God's people, because I constantly ask God, how can I serve your people? How can I leave impact? So I'm just being mindful with my finances. When it comes to finances, that I'm being smart about it and I'm being honest about it, because hey, in my younger years, in my 20s, I did some things that I'm not too proud of when it came to finance, especially with taxes. So yeah, that bill, that IRS bill, will really change your mind. Yes. So, and it just was from greed. I'll just sum it up to that. And I've asked God to forgive me, and I'm constantly paying for it today. I pay the IRS faithfully every month, and it ain't cheap. It's a high bill. So as I'm making this change and we're growing, I hope we're growing together. If you want to further this conversation, let's talk about it in the comments below, or you can follow me on my Instagram at She's Living, and you can send me a DM and we can further talk about it there. If you made it this far in the video, go ahead and like this video so it can show up for more people, as well as if you have not already subscribed, why not subscribe? If you want to hear more information about this, I'll be giving more faith-based content as it relates to business and career and our finances. So if that's something that you would be interested in, I would love to have you. Thank you so much for tuning in. Also, share this video with someone that this information may resonate with, and let's continue the conversation, and you have the most amazing week, and I'll talk to you soon.